Arriving back at Winding Circle, a new threat emerges amongst the streets of Summersea. Briar and his siblings must band together once again to overcome this obstacle and save everyone. Trigger warning for mentions of plagues and diseases. I know this video may strike a chord with anyone who has lived through the 2020 pandemic, which is a lot of us. This book was published in 1999, but it's a reflection of the horrors of disease is all too real. Briar is having a dream about hearing the secrets of the plants talk to him when Sandry wakes him up to ask him to pick a birthday since he doesn't remember his. Briar and Rosethorn are on their way to the mire just outside Summersea. It's late winter, the rainy season for southern Emelon. They are there to visit Urda's house, the local medical facility for the city's poor. Urda is the goddess of healers and midwives. She isn't affiliated with the gods of Winding Circle, though. Rosethorn volunteers her time and medicines for the place. When they arrive, Briar looks for Flick, another street rat he befriended since they started coming there. He doesn't see her, but does see the other kids she hangs out with. Alley Pup, one of the kids, leads Briar to her den in the sewers, hoping he can help her. She's sick with spots all over. When Briar examines her, he can't figure out what she has, though. He uses the network of plants below the city to contact Rosethorn at Urda's house. He tells her everything, and she goes to meet with Alley Pup up top by the Guildhall clock tower. It's easier than walking through the sewers like they did. She's there soon and hands Briar her work bag. He pulls out a crystal with lightning in it that Triss had made, then hands Rosethorn a magnifying glass to better examine Flick. Then she asks Briar to put her in contact with Nico, who should be with the girls at the Duke's Citadel.
Meanwhile,
At the Duke's Citadel, Triss, Sandra, and Nico are having tea with the Duke. Nico is seeing something on the balcony, like with his magic, as Duke Vedris comes over to inquire with him. Then Rosethorn's voice calls to the girls, and they interrupt the conversation. Nico places his hands on Sandry's shoulder and speaks to the Dedicate, who shows him the disease, and they begin talking. Briar and her won't be going home for a while, quarantine procedure, especially when there isn't any diagnosis spells for this disease, apparently. The Duke sends guards to help escort them safely to Urda's house for quarantine. There they're placed in a locked room on the third floor. They're given a change of clothes with masks and gloves. After they wash and change, they eat food left for them. Later, Nico visits, bringing the items Rosethorn asked for, like her healer's oil. She wishes she could be at Winding Circle helping to find a cure, but she wrote the Summersea quarantine procedure herself, so she knows she has to stay isolated for now. Dedicate Crane will lead the search for the cure instead. Also, Nico saw the new plague coming. That's what he wanted to talk to the Duke about. He had only confirmed his visions the night before, though. Duke Vedris escorts Sandry and Triss back to Winding Circle. Then he's off to speak with Dedicate Moonstream. When they tell Lark what happened, she's not surprised. The Seers foresaw an epidemic as well the night before, and Dedicate Moonstream had just finished telling everyone. When Triss tries implying that the poor are riddled with disease, Lark takes her to task, explaining they can't afford the health magic that wealthier can afford. All they're left with is the scraps. When she was diagnosed with asthma, she had to quit acrobatics and was poor and living in the mire herself. Triss later apologizes for what she said. At Urda's house, Briar and Rosethorn collect samples in specially magic boxes spelled against disease. It's to help them figure out what the new disease is. Later, at Winding Circle, we learn the Water Temple only has 5 sample boxes, and they'll need lots more for a new illness. Frostpine and Deja are put to task constructing more post-haste. The next day, Dedicate Crane of the Air Temple visits Discipline Cottage. Sandry prepares a tea of Rosethorn supply to help revitalize the man. He asks Lark for help with more secured masks and gloves for meddling with the disease. She agrees, asking Sandry if she will help. The noble girl, of course, says yes. Crane tells them that 2 more infected were found and sent to Urda's house, as well as a body that had died of the ailment. Lark prays to Yana Paintaker, the goddess of medicine and healers amongst the Winding Circle religion. The second day in quarantine for Briar involves caring for the 2 new men. Rosethorn speaks with Jokubus Atwater of Urda's house about the lack of proper supplies. He tells her to make do. The third day brings 5 more patients, as well as a water dedicate to help out, Dedicate Henna. She was originally working for Crane, but he couldn't stand her. Hannah tells them that there are nearly 100 new cases that day since the Duke started going house to house, but it's hard to know the exact count with people not seeking help. 13 new dead from the disease, and the people are calling it the blue pox because that's the disease presents in most. She has them rest as she keeps watch. Briar awakens at one point to see Henna doing healing magic on a patient, using her magic to try and discern what they need. Then he goes back to bed and dreams of his foster siblings working on their own tasks. Then he awakens again to see Henna helping a patient that suffered a seizure due to the intense fever. She then takes the chance to explain how oxygen is carried by the blood to the brain. Henna explains to Briar why she can't just heal someone. Henna pulled a basin from the cupboard. I have the power to heal 4 of the people in this room completely, she said, her voice tight. All people and children and those already ill, like the man, are the hardest to bring back. I'd have to go to Death's kingdom to get them. That will drain me for a month or more. That means I'd be useless, bedridden, too weak even to care for the sick without my magic. If healers use themselves up to save a handful, what happens to the sick brought in tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after? She searched through the medicines on the table, taking a brown glass bottle. Get a cup. Briar obeyed. As Hannah poured liquid from the bottle into the cup, she continued, a touch of my power given to one person at a time might help 50 to win free of the disease, and leave me with enough magic to fight the blue pox in my own body. I may have to let some die, if they're too far gone, and keep my power to save others. Rosestone awakens, and they begin helping the patient throughout the day. Several more have seizures, and another is suffering a nasty cough. Later, Jacobus announces the building is a pest house, and the healers and assistants are free to move about the building. His daughter brings up more of the sick. Briar notes the way that the patients seem to be losing weight. At Discipline, they're happy to hear that Dedicate Henna is helping out Rosethorn and Briar. That night, Triss wakes up and goes to the south wall, where she runs into Nico, who asks her if she can nudge the rain along.
Sure about that? You sure about that?
They know the disease is not spread through the air nor animals, so all that leaves is the water that they can control. She tries, searching for an empty bit of sky to drop the storm in, but searching south, she finds more storms ready to fill its spot, so it's hopeless. Someone from the Provost Guard, the local police force, comes searching for Nico. They found 11 new cases all inside the city. The blue pox has made it into Summersea. At Erda's house, a meeting is called of the healers. Rosedorn leaves Briar, who stays with Flick as even more patients are brought in and cots are laid down. He notes that Flick's spots are shrinking when Rosedorn gets back. She's still worried about the fever, but there's plant mage work to be done. She takes him downstairs to the medicine storeroom. Apparently, over the last 18 months, someone at Erda's house has been reselling the medicines she brought in addition to any she strengthened while there. So now, they need to replenish what's left that's more than 2 years old. They envision themselves like a tree infusing sap into the plants to revitalize them. They're at it for a while when Briar realizes Rosethorn is crying in the corner. She says she misses home, with the girls and Lark and even the dog. Briar mind speaks to Trist to get her to bring him his shakan and other living plants. Then he gets 2 blankets and wraps one around Rosethorn, who's already fallen asleep, and wraps the other around himself as he continues imbuing the plants with magic. Later, he can feel the life force of his shakan approaching. Trish drops it off outside the building, where healers go over it with protective spells before taking it inside. Briar then places the plants around Rosethorn, and it's like a light was switched on, and she springs back to life. As they drop off the plants, except the shakan, in other rooms for the patients to be around, they run into Nico, who's covered head to toe in magical protection. The disease has spread to the wealthier districts. They're opening the main hospital to the sick. The quarantine is pointless as it has spread to all of Summersea. Nico is tasked with helping set up a makeshift hospital in the Duke's armory. They need the space. But Rosedorn and Briar can't return to Winding Circle as the disease hasn't gotten their friends uphill yet. Nico can return after a lengthy decontamination process outside the city. At Winding Circle, Deja and Frostpine have finished up a month's supply of sample boxes and he orders her to rest. Before they head out of the forge, they spot Earth and Fire Temple dedicates heading out to prepare a hospital camp north of the mire and a place to burn the dead on Bit Island. At Erda's house, Briar checks on Flick, who is in advanced stages of dehydration. He tries giving her water, but she keeps succumbing to hallucinations. Later, she has seizures as Briar and a healer try to help. The healer infuses her magic to try and stop the seizures so Flick can breathe, but with each seizure, she has less magic to spare. Briar wonders if he can put his magic into others the way he can the girls of Rosethorn. He tries, but Rosethorn stops him, telling him it's no use. When he tells her of Flick's symptoms, she goes to argue with the healer. Briar spends hours with Flick, trying to keep her hydrated and talking to her about the adventures together. It's sometime after 3 in the morning when she finally stops breathing. Briar doesn't let go, still hoping her chest will rise again when someone comes by and places an oil thumbprint on his face. It's Crane's detection oil. It means him and Rosethorn are clean, so it appears red. If they were infected, it would be white. Rosethorn is the one who tells Briar Flick has passed on, talking him out of his delusion.
No, I'm still sad.
Together, the two mages leave Erda's house. They decontaminate before they're escorted by the Duke's guard to Winding Circle. They pass the barren streets of the city as they do, signs of how hard the epidemic has hit. They run into the girls, Lark and Little Bear, just outside Winding Circle. Lark and Rosethorn have an intimate moment before all of them walk back to Discipline Cottage. Lark is the one who reminds them this epidemic is far from over. They all go back to bed as it's early morning. Triss wakes first and prepares Lark's workroom, then goes down to the hub to get food from the kitchen. On her way back, she runs into Dedicate Crane, who helps her with her baskets. At first, Rosethorn and him start with their bickering before Lark interjects. Crane is there because he needs Rosethorn's help, but Briar tells him to get one of those great mages. Great mages are like really powerful legendary mages. Crane explains to the children that their teachers are those legendary great mages. Rosethorn is one of the most renowned plant and medicine mages around the Pebbled Sea. Same goes for Frostpine and Lark for smithing and weaving. Winding Circle rivals Lightsbridge in terms of the skill of their mages. They're just that OP. It's like the Fairy Tale Guild. Crane needs Rosethorn's help, and she is bringing Briar, much to Crane's annoyance. They're expected at dawn tomorrow. In the meantime, Rosethorn and Briar get some rest as the others begin their day. That night, Briar awakens from nightmares about Flick. Sandry comes soon after with her Lightstone. Then Deja with some incense, and finally Trish with Shriek, who has returned from his winter travels apparently. They all lay together like that until things wind down.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
At dawn, Rosethorn gathers up Briar without commenting on them all sleeping in a pile. Together, they arrive at Crane's greenhouse, where Briar is shown the cleanup procedures by other dedicates. He is to work directly with Crane, which the others comment on. Apparently, no one has lasted as his assistant for even a week. It is the setup of a standard lab with test tubes and trays and magical methods of sterilization. The outer workroom distills the disease so that the inner workroom and Crane can fiddle with the disease. Briar's job is to put different liquids into the tray of blue pox to test different results. Briar witnesses one of the other assistants fumble when a thread of their sleeve comes undone and nearly drops into the mixture they're holding. Crane immediately kicks them out and orders 2 more helpers from a temple runner, then everyone gets back to work. Briar is placing the mixture with the blue pox essence as Rosethorn goes over Crane's notes, asking questions here and there. They break for the noon meal where Briar learns the other attendants are betting on when Crane will kick him out. He decides to wager on Peachleaf, a water dedicate who keeps needing Crane to spell things out for her. Osprey, the air dedicate who's been helping Briar settle in, takes his wager. Later, while trying to see if there are silver sparkles of magic in the blue pox, 2 more attendants mess up and break glassware, getting kicked out quickly by Crane. Briar's thinking about how to get Triss inside to see if she can see the magic in the blue pox when Peachleaf gets kicked out for spilling a jar of ink. Crane is wondering who else can take notes for him when Briar suggests Triss, as she is the best for the job and has nothing to do. He mind speaks to her to come over, and she does. She's great at keeping up with Crane, even correcting him when he repeats himself after going over Peachleaf's notes. When Crane gives her a break to walk around, Briar shows her what he does, and she glimpses a very small amount of magic glowing on the blue pox essence. Briar then shows her to Osprey, who shows Triss the essence they distill, and she sees the magic there too. She tells Crane, and when Rosethorn hears, they realize they'll need Nico to know for sure.
Meanwhile,
In the city, Nico is called to Winding Circle. The greenhouse closes for the evening, and Briar, Triss, and Rosethorn head back to Discipline for the night. Crane joins them, talking with Rosethorn about new procedures and methods. They work late into the night, even as everyone sleeps. Nico is there the next day when everyone wakes up, and he tells Triss to get ready, as he'll need her magical strength when they go into the sewers. He's still looking for the source of the disease. Crane wants her to stay, but he loses the argument. Triss doesn't want to go because the sewers are dirty, but goes anyway. Frostpine comes by after to have Deja help on his next project, making talismans of protection from angry mobs for the Duke's guard. He isn't exactly happy at the idea of doing so. Just after Triss and Nico left, Frostpine arrived at Discipline. More work for us, he told Deja as she ate breakfast. Protective talismans for the Duke's soldiers, to keep a rain of chamber pots and rocks from banging them on the head in the East District. I'd hoped they'd forgotten I can do such things, but someone apparently remembered. Crane raised his eyebrows. How can you object to the protection of those who keep the Duke's peace? Frostpine sat next to Deja, plucking morsels from a muffin and popping them into his mouth. A proper fear of such things keeps soldiers polite, he observed. Otherwise, they might be tempted to push common folk around. Orders to enter people's homes uninvited are a sore temptation for peacekeepers, I've found. Alright, Comrade Pierce, I see you. Frostpine has Deja get ready, and so do Crane, Rosethorn, and Briar. Sandria and Lark rest for the day. When Rosethorn, Crane, and Briar reach the spiral road, a wagon comes in from the north gate. The Duke's guard has brought temple folk to be nursed at Winding Circle. Dedicate Henna is one of the infected.
No, I'm still sad.
The three hurry on their way to the greenhouse. Cut to Triss and Nico in the sewers of Summersea. They go to Flick's den, and Nico uses a seeing spell on Triss's glasses to help her see magic connected to the disease. They follow a set of glowing footprints in the muck. When Triss notices how stressed Nico is about being dirty, she uses her water bending to shove the sewer water aside so they can keep tracking. In the greenhouse, Crane announces they discovered magic in the disease and will have to begin the process from the beginning. Everyone groans and gets to work. As Rosethorn passes an attendant, they spill some of the essence onto Rosethorn's gloves as Briar intervenes and curses out the dedicate. Crane kicks them out, and Rosethorn and Briar discard their gloves for new ones before getting to work. In the sewers, Triss and Nico come upon a sewer grate and climb up, donning new gloves and masks as Nico applies the new seeing spell to track the magic of the disease itself. They follow it to the poor East District, to a building that's empty. When they come to a locked door, Triss mind speaks with Briar to help pick the lock.
Classic.
She's been teaching him classic Kerchali, the language of the Kerchal Empire that existed long ago, in exchange for Briar teaching her lockpicking. Once inside, Triss and Nico look around. They find the mage responsible, dead, which is for the better, as once word got out people would want vengeance. They used the same seeing spell they used on Bit Island months ago to see what the mage did. She was performing spells on pieces of bacon, trying out different mixtures. She didn't get the results she wanted and poured all the content into a bowl and tied it with magic before disposing of it improperly. It's a small fee to dispose of magic at Winding Circle. The magic must be neutralized safely. They find her journal and quickly get out of there. Crane and Rosethorn learn of this and discuss what Elisa Pearldrop did. She was trying to create a weight loss potion where you'd sweat out the pounds, which is why the fever was resistant to willow bark tea, and the rash was an unintended side effect. If she had succeeded, she'd have made some serious bank, though. Nico tells them he'll go to tell the Duke and Moonstream. Triss gets to work with Crane again as everyone gets back to work at the greenhouse. Later that day, Briar drops a crystal tray, but Crane does not dismiss him. Apparently, he caught onto the betting going on and refuses to let anyone win the pot. He has Briar go get more supplies as the mess is cleaned up and he gets back to work. Then Rosethorn has a small breakthrough. They find one of the keys to curing the pox, but there are at minimum 36 other keys to unlock. It's later when Rosethorn asks for Willowbark tea that Briar notices she's lost weight, and then the red spot on her face has changed to white. Everyone is shocked, but Crane says she'll have to leave.
Well, it's in the guide.
It's in her own pandemic guide. Triss mind speaks to Sandria and Lark, who rush to Moonstream to see if they can take Rosethorn home. Before she does, she gathers strength from the plants of the greenhouse. Lark arrives to take her home, but Rosethorn shows Crane the third key before she leaves. Osprey is put in her place and picks Dedicate Acacia to take her place in the outer workroom. They close up the greenhouse for its nightly cleansing and head home. Briar brings his Shakan to Rosethorn's room, now spelled against disease. The room is spelled against disease, not his Shakan. He takes the notes she has been taking for Crane to read and heads to bed. 3 days go by without any new keys being uncovered. Briar is growing restless, worried for his teacher, when they hear news that a Dedicate died. At home, they learn from Rosethorn and Lark that Dedicate Henna was the one who passed, using the last of her magic to help novices. That night, the 4 young mages sleep together in the living room with Little Bear. Lark wakes to find them and promises to bring in pallets for them if they want to continue doing so. The next day, Crane discovers 2 more keys when he learns through Sandry that Rosethorn now has blue spots. Osprey uncovers another key later that same day. Crane learns of 2 more that afternoon, and Osprey two more through Rosethorn's notes, and before they close up, Crane discovers an eighth key. Rosethorn is happy to hear, saying once he discovers a cure, he will have to test it on 10 rounds of human essence to ensure it's safe for people to take. Rosethorn's fever is getting worse by the day, though. The next day, as Crane opens the cabinets of test trays, 10 more keys are discovered. Briar is so hopeful and yet terrified at the same time. Rosethorn talks to Deja as she tries making a health charm. Rosethorn eyed the design. Interesting. It might work better as a plant. If Briar built a trellis in this shape, we could grow ivy on it. You know why I hate plagues? The girl hesitated, confused by the abrupt change of subject. That was the fever, she realized. It made Rosethorn's mind skip about. Why? Deja asked. Most disasters are fast and big. You can see everyone else's life got overturned when yours did. Houses are smashed, livestock's dead, but plagues isolate people. They shut themselves inside while disease takes a life at a time, day after day. It adds up. Whole cities break under the load of what was lost. People stop trusting each other because you don't know who's sick. How did you get in with Crane? Deja inquired, curious, picking apart diseases. It was a game, Rosethorn confessed. I was sent here to complete my novitiate. Crane was a novice, too. We were the best with plants. A lady was visiting one day, and I worked out the ingredients in her perfume before Crane did. Except he wasn't Crane then. He was just Isis, like I was Neva. Her eyelids started to droop, a sign she was tiring. Deja poured out a cup of Willowbark tea and gave it to her. Rosethorn sipped, made a face, and continued. We just went on from there. We'd make sense and give the other a day to figure out what was used and the amount. Then, why we worked out the ingredients in stews and the dyes for the complex weavings that came in from Aliput. Then medicines, and then diseases. The temple sent us both light grids for 3 years. I hated it. All those books and dead chemicals, powders, nothing alive. And they made so much of him as a count's son. She finished her tea and eased herself back. So arrogant, so good at what he does. He's been a burr between my toes for years. She pulled the blanket up over her shoulders. Deja set the empty cup in the bucket of things to be washed in boiling water and put the lamp behind a screen. She was about to try her work again when Rosethorn muttered something. What is it? Asked Deja. Are you walking in dreams again? My boy, you three girls, look after Briar when I'm gone. Briar and Triss come home from a day of even more keys being uncovered, but their hopes evaporate when they see Rosethorn lost in hallucinations. The next morning, more keys are found, and Crane orders Akasha to begin disposing of the sample boxes properly. They found all the keys they need, Crane announces. Crane shook his head. As far as I can tell, we have found all the keys to the illness. Now we formulate a cure. We have available a number of ways to cancel individual keys, which are different parts of the disease. These ways do not all work together. A bad combination of cancelers will kill a patient as easily as the blue pox. Also, different people react in different ways. Now we must devise the canceller blends that will treat the largest number of the sick. Some will die anyway, whispered a man. We're mages, not miracle workers, Cloud Gold, said Osprey tiredly. Our strength has limits, and we don't have much time. They are to begin testing cures that very day. Crane has Briar help begin the process of mixing cures with different types of human essence, and varying combinations of gender and age. It took many delegates many years to come up with human essence to test on instead of human trials. Many died or were struck with illness in the process of creating human essence. Rosethorn's condition is the same that night, and the next day they learn that none of the cures worked and they begin again with new cure combinations. And the next day again no cures are found, as Rosethorn's spots begin to fade, a very bad sign. The following morning, Crane comes to Discipline to deliver a vial of the cure himself. One finally worked. Osprey is preparing more as they speak. Crane visits Rosethorn in her room. Everyone is on edge, but hopeful for once. She later speaks with Lark privately, as Crane asks for Briar and Triss's help. The cure is having a tough time with older and younger patients, so he needs them to stay at the air dormitories for the time being. They work on refining the cure to better work for teenagers, children, babies, and the elderly. They even get volunteers from the city, and 5 days later, they have the cure ready for the water temple to make in the huge amounts needed. Crane tells them there will be a meeting in a week or two to discuss the pandemic preparedness and response, and what they could have done to better. When Briar and Triss check in on Rosethorn, she has a nasty cough that makes it hard for her to catch her breath. They've been giving her a concoction for it, but it only helps for so long, and the willowbark tea isn't doing anything for her fever. Sandria has gone to look for a healer. Briar tries infusing his magic into the willowbark to strengthen it and gives her the tea, but senses with his magic that her reserves are dangerously low. Outside Rosethorn's room, Sandry tells Lark that all the best healers are in Emelon, and the second-rate healers are brewing up the cure. Briar tells them that Rosethorn is dying. Lark decides to get Moonstream, as she began her mage life as a healer. She tells the four to keep an eye on Rosethorn, and that if she does go, that none of them are to put their magic into her, as no power can bring you back from that.
Sure about that?
The Willowbark tea helps with the fever, but the cough stays. Lark arrives on horseback a while later. Her, Frostpine, and Kirill are going to search the city for Moonstream. They sent a dedicated healer to come sit with Rosethorn in the meantime. They take turns sitting with her. The day runs warm, and still no dedicated healer has arrived yet. Briar is sitting with her, slightly slipping into sleep, when Rosethorn shoots up. A seizure, a strong one, and she can't breathe. When Briar touches her, he senses her magic fall away, and ignoring all warnings, sends his magic out like a root to her, and anchors himself with Shakan as the girls burst in. Sandry sends her power after Briar into the shadows that Rosethorn's power fell into. Triss latches on with lightning anchors, and Deja anchors them in the living world. Sandry sends out a net of lightning to capture and hold Briar's magic, refusing to lose the plant mages. Briar finds himself in a gray city, holding a thread that he follows towards Rosethorn. Triss feels a jarring sensation as somebody tries making Deja and them let go, but Sandry says if they do, they'll lose all of them. The shaking stops and they can focus on the task at hand. Briar runs until his feet bleed, and he comes upon more and more greenery breaking through the gray stone city. The ball of thread in his hands turning bigger as he approaches a large gated park. Inside it is Rosethorn, surprised to see Briar and immediately telling him to go back, but he won't hear it. I did good work, I did important work, and now it's over. Perhaps I don't want it this way and this soon, but you can see there's another lifetime's worth of labor here. She looked over her shoulder at the garden, which so clearly needed someone very good to look after it. Cleaned up properly, it would be magnificent. I don't care, Briar said flatly. We don't belong here. We belong with the girls and Little Bear, and Nico and Frostpine, he added, seeing her flinch at each name, knowing it gave her pain to hear them and not caring. She wanted to leave him. And yes, Crane, you would be leaving you'd be leaving him behind. What of Lark? Her most of all. Tell me that don't matter to you. Rosethorn looked down, her mouth working. Come home, whispered Briar. She came over and hugged him fiercely, then let him go. Briar trembled. She looked solid enough, but she felt transparent. If a whisper had a baby, that was what he'd embraced. I'm tired, she told him softly. Tired to the bone. I want to rest. Rest at home, he repeated stubbornly. Oh, this book. Briar, it's my time, and it isn't yours. Go back to the girls. You'll break their hearts if you get lost here. She turned to pick up a basket and shears he hadn't seen in the grass before that moment. You're breaking my heart,
You're breaking my heart.
he said quietly. She straightened, her back to him. I can't go back, she said patiently. It will hurt. Oh man, I'm not okay. Ah, this book. Oh man.
No, I'm still sad.
This right here got me because he's so vulnerable in this moment. He doesn't want to lose the only other person in this world who cares about him. Rosethorn and Lark are their moms. End of story. And he won't let Rosethorn just quit and threatens to stay, cutting at the thread that bound him to the girls. Sandry has to send out one final strained thread as he yells he's staying with her. Rosethorn eventually relents. It hurts her too much to see her child hurting. Then Briar yells for the girls to reel them in. Back in his body, low on magic, Rosethorn lets out a loud cough. Moonstream standing over her. Moonstream reaches for Briar and heals him a bit before going back to healing Rosethorn's pneumonia. Lark is yelling at the kids and kissing them with tears running down her face. Nico stands there shocked and trembling. Their teachers are very worried for their children's safety. Moonstream says Rosethorn's lungs are perfectly clear. The magic must have burned it up. Moonstream promises to deal with the dedicated healer who was supposed to come by. She wants to keep things hush hush though. She doesn't know how the kids were able to do what they did, and she prefers not to know. Oh, and Rosethorn suffered brain damage and must relearn to speak. 2 months later, summer is beginning and the four are up on the roof, hanging like always. As Nico climbs up to get Triss, Sandry comments it's been a year since the four of them first met. Nico says they all surprised him when he found them. Nico's smile was... no. What did you expect? Sandry asked, curious. Nico's smile was wry. I expected to pick up some young mages, find them teachers, and go on my way. I never thought to endure earthquakes, pirates, forest fires, and plagues with them, or to be forced to revise my knowledge of how magic is shaped. I had forgotten that there is never a point at which we stop learning or needing to learn. You remind me of that every day, whether I wish such a reminder or not. Triss goes with Nico, Sandry gets ready to go riding with her uncle, and Deja goes to meet Frostpine for the day. Briar stays up on the roof thinking about birthdays and how it should be a day that changed his life forever. She had called to him to come down and work in her garden the day after his arrival at Discipline, the 20th day of Goose Moon, which was tomorrow. The girls would be vexed at getting so little time to prepare, but they would adjust. They would know, as he did, that his life began when Rosethorn had invited him into her world. Briar, she called. It ain't running away without us, he yelled in reply, and climbed back into the house. Oh man, these kids stress me out and break my heart. I'll always love children's literature because kids give such raw emotions. They're so real in how they can't fully control or even say what they mean, but will say it nonetheless. It's really admirable, and kids can teach us as much as we teach them. I enjoyed watching the four grow throughout the year, overcoming obstacles that got in their way and becoming better people in the end. I'd be more than happy to revisit the world of Emelon in the future, see the kids when they're a little bit older and exploring the world. These books hold a special place in my heart for what they taught me and still teach me. It did bring up some memories reading about the spreading blue pox and how much it mirrors our own battle with COVID. Many of us have a story or two of what we'd endured and survived through during those years. But that's all I can say. I'll be back with more book recap. Catch you all in the next one. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!